The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the AVAIL presentation. We might just wait another couple of minutes while additional people join the webinar. So I'll come back online again in about a minute or two. All right, we won't keep everyone waiting. Let's kick off now. So once again, thank you for attending the webinar. It's always a busy time of year coming up to end of financial year, so I appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule. We believe that this will provide you a good insight into better ways to manage not only your Revit content, but in fact any content for that matter. So basically, what is AVAIL? AVAIL is a content management tool that helps you manage your digital assets. The traditional way of managing our digital assets has just been using the good old Windows File Explorer, and really, as we know, that's been around for, I don't know, what, 30 odd years or more, since Windows 3.1 or whatever it was. And even before that, really, the concept was the same. It was just the graphical interface to it was a bit different. So we haven't really seen any great advancements in the way that we can manage our files through Windows or any of the other operating systems, really. So what AVAIL does is it looks at a new way to do that, and I'll get into that shortly. But if you want to get more information about AVAIL, the website's www.getavail.com. You will need to register before you can download, but you can see that there's a bit of information there, including the various plans that are available, etc. So that's all there on the AVAIL website. So let's just get in and have a bit of a look at AVAIL. So AVAIL is comprised of a couple of components, and the first component would be the desktop application, which is what we're looking at here. The next component that that makes up the AVAIL package is a cloud indexing service. And I'll talk about that a little bit later, but it's important to note that your files stay on your local hardware. They don't go up into the cloud. Just the information about the file goes into the cloud. There's also a Revit add-in. So if I pick this up here, we can see a Revit add-in. And for the enterprise plan, there's a feature called Stream, and then there's also some analytics that we can look at. So we'll go over all of those things throughout this presentation. But one of the things that we'll talk about is, why is the Windows file system broken? And the reason for that is, in today's environment, a file might appropriately live in more locations than just the one location. So you want to be able to, have one source of truth, but, when you're looking for stuff, what we're focused on with Windows Explorer is a location. Whereas what AVAIL changes the focus to is not not location, but context. So what sort of context am I working, and where can I find files in relation to that context? So what we have down the bottom here is kind of a two-tiered tagging system, or tag pairs. So, in this case here, these files have been indexed into AVAIL, and as I mentioned, the files actually live on my local computer still. So this is just the Revit 2018 Australian library, and that's been indexed on. I'll show you how to do that shortly. But when I look at a particular file and I go to the properties of that file, you can see that it is actually just looking at the C drive for that particular file. So when I go to open that file, it is just simply going to open it from that location. Now, the other good thing about AVAIL is it uses the Windows system and uses the file handlers in the Windows system. So if I've got the software installed to read the file, then I get the thumbnails, etc., related to that. So, I have Revit installed, so I'm getting the thumbnails that Revit produces. For the thumbnails here in Revit, I can easily, it's a lot more visual. I can easily zoom in and get more information about those. We can change how we're looking at them as well. If I have, if I've got a longer file name and I want to see what that longer file name is, I can go to the list view. If I just jump over to this one here, for example, these are channels that we call down the left-hand side. So we're just trying to structure our information into a way that makes contextual sense for us. But in this channel that we see down the left-hand side here, I go to a different channel, and you can see I've got PDF files here. I've got DWG files here, as well as my my Revit file. So I've got these software installed to handle all of these different file types, and AVAIL simply uses that's the handler that's installed on your computer to display those thumbnails. So just like Windows Explorer as well, I can double click on it, and that will open up the file. It's gone to my other screen. Drag that over so you can see there. It's just opened up the PDF. Likewise, if I was to double click the DWG, it'd open up AutoCAD, etc. from there. So the way in which you, and I'm not going to go through this process in full today, but essentially the way that you index files is you just simply drag and drop from your Windows Explorer into AVAIL, into the AVAIL desktop, and it just says we get this message saying it's being indexed from a place that other people may not be able to reach. But given that this is the default location that the families or the libraries are installed to, then everybody should actually be able to access this as well. So you can see we're just going through some options there. The first window just told me that it's not actually moving anything. So the files, as I mentioned, stay where they are. From here, I can go through, that's probably type catalogs. I probably don't want that XML file. I can click off the different file types that I don't want. I can hit the next button. We can add some filters in here to help us deal with how we're, what files we want to bring in. And then what we've got down here is, well, first of all, up here I can add some additional tags to the content, but I've got the tick box down here to include the folder names as tags as well, because we've typically come up with a filing system that has some relevance to us, and therefore it makes sense to use that information as tags as well. So I'm just going to cancel out of that at this stage because I don't want to go through that process at the moment. It isn't. It doesn't take too long to index stuff, depending on the size of what you're trying to index, of course, in terms of the sheer number of files. So what you can see down here is just really, I've done that. Here's something I've prepared earlier, I guess. I've done that, indexed it in, and really, I haven't really done anything in additional to what I just showed you there to index that. So you can see it's giving us, the Revit category, the folder names have come in as keywords. It's also telling us, what items are hosted. So if I click on, what's hosted to a wall, you can see it's going to filter that down and show us what's all the stuff that's filtered to a wall. In addition to filtering down here, it's also filtering down my tags. So I get, once again, I've got this sort of tag pairing in terms of what's a host and wall has one meaning, but perhaps if it was under Revit category and wall, that would have a different meaning. So this tag pairing working horizontally adds an incredible amount of context that we were talking about earlier to how we find these files. In addition to that, we've got this sort of vertical tag pairing as well, which I'm just showing here by how the tags have been reduced to show us only the objects. So all the objects that have the host wall tag will also have these other tags here. So it doesn't show me any additional tags that aren't relevant to the objects currently filtered. And over here it tells me what's in my search results. I've got 70 items listed there in my search results. So I can easily see, what, drill down into the different objects there that I want. So, I've select what's wall hosted, will show me the casework that's wall hosted, and straight away I'm into that. I can click on that to undo that filter, if you like, and go and show me just the doors that are wall hosted, which would hopefully be all of them. And if I want to clear all the filters altogether, we can just clear them like that. So we can very quickly and easily dive down into what we want to get out of what objects we want to find using this tag pairing. But in addition to that, if I go to the casework, if I filter down to casework here, I've actually added some additional tags in here, such as corner and drawers. So, if I click on drawers, for example, show me all the casework that has drawers in it. So, just clear that filter. If I wanted to do a similar thing for furniture, it's really quite easy. So I just filter down to furniture. I'm just going to go through and just holding the control key, I'm just selecting all the items that have drawers in them. And from there, I can right click, go add tags. And if I start typing in the word drawer or drawers, you can see it actually comes up there as a keyword. Click OK. So now all my furniture will have the drawers on there as well. So if I clear the filters on that and I come down and I grab the drawers tag under keywords there, So you can see now all of a sudden I'm starting to see, all my casework that has drawers, but also all of my furniture that has drawers. And that's reflected by this tagging that we're seeing here. So straight away, it's just giving us, much greater context into what we're looking for. So we've also got some additional workflows in here that that help with things as well. So basically we've some content, if we're managing a library like this, some content might need maintaining. So my colleague Dan is just going to flag an item as needing attention, and the way that you simply do that is you can see we can click on this little thing here and click the add flag, and then I would select on that one. In doing that process, I'll put in, it requires me to put in a comment. So I'll add a comment like that. So if I come down to this little show flags filter here, click on that. Over here it'll tell me that it's found 2 results. So there's the item that I've flagged as requiring attention, and here's the item that my colleague Dan has flagged as needing attention. So you can see he's added his comment there. So straight away we can dive down into this and start to see, what issues there are on these sorts of things. I can reply to that. It won't at this stage, it's not notifying, but I can reply to that. And so we can keep a trail of what's been going on with the file, and we can see the who's left the comments there as well. So what I might want to do in addition to that is I might create an additional channel that I call a repair channel, for example. What you choose to do with all this sort of thing is entirely up to you. And if I go back to here, show me those things that need attention again, I can right click on those and choose the add to channel. So from here, I want to add it to my channel. I'm going to add it to the repair channel. And I've got 2 options. I can either copy it to the repair channel or I can move it. Now, if I've deemed that these items here should be removed from this library until they are repaired, then what I'm going to want to do is move it. Okay, so it's currently being moved over to that repair. Okay, so if I go to the repair channel, you can see both of those items are in there, but it's also taken all the tagging with it into there as well. So from here, I can go through and make the necessary adjustments. If I come down here and choose to remove the flag on both of those, but in addition to that, I can go and have a look at the comments. So the comments are still there with that. You can see it's showing me the fact that I've removed or deleted the flag essentially. But in addition to that, if we, once things done, if we don't want to keep those comments, they can actually also be deleted. All right, so once they've been updated, we can simply right click on them, go back to add to channel, and I'll select that channel there and move them back over. So we can set up using a combination of our channels and flags and comments, etc. I can set up so various workflows that allow me to manage my files better. So that gives us a bit of a basic look at the overall function of the AVAIL desktop component. I guess a couple of the other things I will just mention here is, we've had a look at the comments that were in there. We also had a look previously at the location, but you can see it's actually showing us the essentially the tags that are associated with it as well. But in addition to that, we can have a look at the overall channel details, and we can have a look at sharing the channel with various users. So when you share the channel with various users, they can be set to either can edit or can view. So if you don't want them to be able to edit anything, etc., then obviously you set them to be can view, and they won't be able to add new files or anything like that. So if we flip over now, sorry, before I go on, we've also got in the browse channels here, there's also this marketplace. So in the marketplace, you can see, there's a number of different items there in the marketplace, but the idea is that this marketplace is obviously going to grow, and the number of channels or whatever that you subscribe to from the marketplace actually have no impact on the plan that you choose to use from the AVAIL website. So basically, some of the stuff on the marketplace is paid for, and some of it is free. And we expect that in the not too distant future, we'll see the Revit Australia 2018 library here in the marketplace as well. So the other thing that we'll just have a bit of a quick look at is down in here. This is where I can manage my various channels and the tags, etc. So, if I wanted to see, the file type up here, I can drag that up to the top and have file type at the top there. I'll bring that back down. In addition, if I want to delete or change any of these keys in here, then I can do so by right-clicking and deleting or editing the tag. So we've got full control over all of that sort of thing as well. So I'll just go back to here, and we'll minimize that down so that we can see how it works with Revit. So once again, I think I'll just go to the casework, and I've already got a bit of a casework item there selected, but I'll select a different one. So if I select the casework item, basically it updates here in my Revit add-in, and from there I can click the load family, and that'll load it into my project and put me into the placement mode. Oh no, sorry, that one just loads it in. The other way is I can just drag and drop as well, and that one there takes me into the placement mode, so I can now start going around and placing the various components. If it has more than one type in there, so if I cancel out of that and we go and have a look at doors, for example, probably should put in a wall. I'm going to go and put in a wall, but I'll just show you a feature from that as well. So if I go to this this channel here that I've got that deals with walls, and I think we want that one. So from here, if I click on, say, this one here, now that's a 2017 file, so what I can do is click on the upgrade. It's not going to actually upgrade the file there, it's just upgrading it here in my browser, but you can see from here, I've got a couple of things in here, the system family being the wall, and I've actually got some detail views in there as well. So I'm just going to grab this wall here, drag and drop that over, and you can see I can start drawing directly into my project with that particular wall. It's just brought it in with all its structure as well. So it manages system families. In addition to that, I believe I can insert view into project, and that should go ahead and create a drafting view in my project with that detail already done. So really, really nice way to manage both your views and system families as well. So not just locked down from the Revit side of it, not just locked down to being just your component families, but also getting into your system families and views, etc. So schedules, I could also bring schedules across in the same way as well. So if I go back here to my 2018, and I have a look at just the, where is it, the flush door there. So that updates, we can see I've got access to all my different door types now. I can simply just drag and drop, go straight into that placement mode, and I can place it directly like that. The other thing I could do is, I can simply drag and drop right from here as well. So straight from the AVAIL desktop app, I can drag and drop that directly into there as well. So a really good tight integration with the with Revit. And in addition to that, if you get one of the higher plans, so basically what I'm in at the moment is it's sort of linked to the AVAIL browser, but if I go now to project mode, then what I actually get is a list of all the stuff within my project. So you can see this is sort of a replacement of the Revit project browser. So there's all my various families. If I come down to, let's see what we can find for doors, there's only 3 in there, but so I can see there's 7 types under there. There's one type each of those. If I go to, let's come down to walls. So there's 17 different walls in here. So once again, directly from here, I can simply drag and drop, and it takes me straight into that drawing mode. I can go to my views here, and I can see different, access the different views, the sheets, and the schedules directly from the project mode as well. And in addition to that, if we go to the add-ins up here, and I probably should have mentioned, but once the Revit add-in is installed, then you access that from the add-ins tab. Click on that. In here we've got this thumbnail generator, and once again, it does take a few minutes, so I'm not going to worry about it, but that thumbnail generator would actually go through and generate thumbnails of all these views for us, which gives us a much better way to work with our views and to see what's on those views rather than just seeing a name. Likewise, we can go to that list view or the icon view. I don't know if we've got any, let's have a quick look here, if we've got anything on there. No, so I'll just drag and drop this view on there and the drafting view on there. Incidentally, if I had the sheet open, I could have drag and dropped that view directly onto the sheet from here. Let's go back to there now. So now that I've got that sheet open, you can see there it's actually showing me the number of views that are loaded onto that sheet as well. So just that nice little graphical, and there's those views. I can access them directly as well. So a really nice tight integration there with the Revit project browser. So basically, we've had a look at the Revit add-in. We've had a look at the AVAIL desktop. We've had a look at the Revit add-in. I did mention a little bit before about the indexing in the cloud. So essentially, when you create an account with AVAIL, it does set up a cloud account for you as well, and it's in here. As I mentioned, all that gets stored in the cloud is this information that we're seeing down here, nothing else. Okay, so the file itself, as I mentioned before, is not stored in the cloud at all. So the next part is Stream, and I'm just going to talk briefly about that. So one of the things that can be, and it's still somewhat, I guess, a bit in beta mode at the moment, but that's partly because it's quite a varied option. Is if I'm working on a particular library, and we'll just look at this Australian one as an example. If I'm working in a particular library, I am often dragging and dropping files or creating new files if I do a save as and create a new file into this location. So currently what that would require is for us to index that particular file into AVAIL. But what Stream does is it essentially, I guess, to keep it simple, is it essentially watches these folders and whatever for files, and based on a predetermined set of rules, if a RFA file, for example, if that was the rule, if an RFA file appeared in here and it did not have the .00 etc. backup extension added to it in the file name as well, then let's also index that back here into AVAIL for us. So that's the idea of Stream is, let's not just make it a manual process of indexing files into AVAIL, but let's make that a somewhat automated process as well. So one of the advantages of AVAIL over a fully web-based tool is, with a fully web-based tool, you've got two places to manage your content. So you may be wanting to manage your content locally. You're going to have a copy of it on your server, most likely, but then you've also got to manage that content in the cloud. So you've got to, whenever you make a change to a file, you've got to go and upload that file to the cloud, the new version of that file to the cloud again. I'm just going to go and do something here. Let's, what door was that? So that was my steel frame steel frame door. So if I go back to AVAIL, we've got this search functionality up here. So if I type in steel frame, so you can see it shows me everything with steel frame, whether that was a tag name or whatever, but there it is there. So that's that steel frame door. So if I've clicked on that and I change back to my standard mode, I'll probably just have to update that again. All right, so there it is there. If I open that in the family editor, I'm actually editing this directly. So I'm just going to go and put in a symbolic line in here just so that we can see what's happening. So I'll save that file. I think it's being held open. It's because it's in the the location it is read only. But yes, basically, I think you get the idea. I'd save that file, and that file would then automatically be updated in AVAIL here. So because it's always pointing to that particular file location. So if you make a change to a file with AVAIL, there's no need to re-index that file. You don't have to re-upload it or anything like that. As soon as you make a change, because it's just pointing to that particular file name, then it's automatically up to date whenever you go to use it. So that's sort of the advantages. So Stream obviously is the automatic indexing, but in terms of actually just making outright changes to files, there's no need to re-index any of that sort of stuff because of the way AVAIL works. The last part that I want to have a look at is the analytics. Now, one of the other things that AVAIL allows you to do is actually to use AVAIL to index websites. So I can actually drag and drop websites into AVAIL as well. But if I double click on that, it's actually going to go and open up the Google Data Studio. So basically, and this is a link to not our account. This is a link to the AVAIL themselves account. That's why we get the map of the USA. So I'm yet to set up an account for us, but essentially you can see here, we've just got a bit of an overview of how the content's being used. But then if we get down into this BIM manager dashboard, this is where it really starts to get quite interesting. So because it's keeping a track of what you're doing and searching on, etc. So this is a really interesting one. Let's show us all the top searches that return 0 results. So if people are doing searches for things and they're getting a 0 result for it, then that probably gives us an indication that, we maybe need to look at creating or sourcing some content that would fulfill those searches. Over here we can see how many flags have been made over the on a daily basis there. Down here, this is what are the most popular searches, so system or door, they're popular searches. So that can tell us, give us some indication of what perhaps we need to focus some attention on, make sure our doors and etc. are really high grade component that people can use. So, in addition to that, we've got how many text searches, content added, but over here we've got our search details as well. So, popular text searches, popular tag searches, so what are people clicking on from the tags? Once again, all this gives us some really good information that we can use to help build our library. Once again, flags and comments, all right, so all the different flags and comments that people are making, it's just listing them out there so that we can keep track of them as well through an analytics management console. So because it is a cloud account essentially, and because all, as I mentioned before, all of this stuff here is in the cloud, but also when you load something, when you search, all of that is being registered in the cloud as well. And able to provide you back with these analytics so that you can better control and manage the libraries that you've got. So just finally to wrap up with, as I sort of pointed out earlier on, AVAIL, while I've been focusing largely on Revit, it is completely file agnostic. It doesn't care what file. In fact, I think last time I spoke to the developers of AVAIL, they said they had about over 600 different file types indexed into AVAIL. So there is no restriction on your particular file types. You know, if I go to this BIM map Oz one here, I've got down here, I've got my text files, for example. You can see I've got the lighting files, the IES files, etc. there. So if I was to double click on that text file, you can see it just opens it up in my text editor. I can go and make changes to that as I want, add a new row or whatever as I want, and save it. You know, or just, I guess, just to indicate what I was talking about before. I know this one is in a location, I can save it. So if I just add that to my text file, you know, whether that was a Revit file or a Word document or an Excel spreadsheet, you can see that it would update that accordingly. So there's no need to re-index any of that sort of stuff when there has been an update made. So, you know, this is a really, really good tool also for things like your marketing department, etc., that need to manage their digital assets, being photos and all that sort of thing, because it, you know, there are other tools out there. I think Open Asset is one, if you're familiar with those kind of tools. Some of you may actually even have a marketing department that's using that. Essentially, AVAIL can you know, be used to replace tools like that, I guess, because it manages, it's completely file agnostic. It manages any file that you like. So I hope that's all been very informative for you, and I hope you can see the significant benefits that AVAIL can provide to help you manage your assets. Keep in mind the AVAIL website, and if you just want to have a bit of a go of it, you can see there is a free version there that gives you up to 2 channels, 1,500 items per channel. That excludes anything from the marketplace, so that doesn't include anything from the marketplace. So that's 2 of your own channels with 1,500 items per channel. So yeah, strongly encourage you to have a look at it with the free version. If you need some additional information or some help along the line with that, then please get in contact with us and let us know. We'd be more than happy to assist you in getting going with AVAIL. At this point here, I'll just take a few questions if people have got them. Should be able to just add questions to the question bar. I think I've got one here. If I can expand this out large enough to actually read it. Does this coincide with new Revit updates automatically, i.e. 2019, 2020? So like any add-in, the add-in itself for Revit gets released around the same time as the new version of Revit. So it isn't Autodesk, and it's probably a good thing that I mention this as well. It is actually, a lot of you have probably used ArchVision RPC content. So the people that developed this are also the people behind the ArchVision RPC content. So they've been in the industry for, you know, well over 20 years and know the industry quite well. So yes, it is an add-in. It's not Autodesk, so it is an add-in that needs to be installed. Having said that, the AVAIL desktop here, as I mentioned before, it's completely file agnostic. So long as I've got the file handler, I haven't put 2019 in here yet, but if I did have 2019 in here, it would open up. But let's say I had 2020 format files as well, and I had a 2020 version of Revit installed, then I could use AVAIL desktop just to open or drag and drop from the AVAIL desktop into Revit 2020 if there was no add-in available for Revit 2020 at the time. So, you know, this obviously, as you saw, the AVAIL add-in here gives us a fair bit of extra integration with Revit, and, you know, yes, the add-in comes out fairly soon after the new version of Revit, but you're not tied down to using just the browser. You can actually work directly from here. So it does this, yep, so I've already answered that. Is anyone using at present in Australia as Revit add-in? Certainly is. There's quite a number of people that are using it in Australia. I mean, obviously us for one, but yeah, we've got a number of different clients. I'm not going to mention their names at the moment, but there are quite a number of clients of ours that are using it already. Any other questions? Do small companies find it useful? Absolutely. If you need to find a better way to manage your content, then yes, it'll be very useful for you. You know, there are different levels that you can enter at as well. Some of that commenting, etc., is sort of for the team environment and above. Yeah, basically, if you've got any issues at all with managing your content, you're going to find it useful. In addition, not only from an actual file management, but for Revit, it gives you the ability to access those system families and views. So you can really set up a great library of your system families and standard details and make them really easy to access and bring into your project as well. You can have sheets set up with your standard views all laid out on it and bring that directly into your project using AVAIL if that's what's required as well. So yeah, there's a lot of functionality there that's going to be a benefit to absolutely anyone. All right, well, thanks everyone for your attendance. If there's no more questions, oh, hang on, we've got one here. Can you show how your subfolders sort in the desktop? So the subfolders, so in the desktop, yeah, I mean, it is a really hard, sort of thing to get your brain out of the what we've been doing for so long is, you know, folders and subfolders and the like. So basically the basically what you're seeing down here with your keywords. So these essentially were the folders and subfolders, etc., that were added as tags automatically during the indexing process. So what you can do if you wanted to, you know, sort of have a similar structure, then if you go down into to manage it here, you know, you can easily. So if I grab I don't know, let's grab, let's just grab this one here and I go edit tags. I don't suppose it matters. You know, I can call this, you know, whatever I want to. So, you know, I could call it subcategory or subfolder even. You can see I I actually tried that once before, you know, creating things as subfolders. So if I grab that, go okay. Then it's going to add that as subfolder down here. And then all I need to do is, you know, if I drag that to there or whatever. So if I come back to my channel, now that this wrapping here can be turned off as well. So, you know, if I click on vehicles, there's my subfolder, if you like, of vehicles. Okay, so it is, that's entirely up to you how you want to structure this, and yeah, there's a bit of thought that can be put into it as well. Obviously, we can also limit the number of these that we see. So, you know, if I really just don't care from file type down, then you know, there's a couple of ways we can deal with that. One would be to say I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'll say let's just show me 5 items. And then the other way, no, I missed that. Show me 5 items. You can see they get grayed out, so they're not going to show, but they are tags still. The other thing is back in here, you know, we get this count, which is really quite useful as well. This count, so you know, we can start sorting by count. So, you know, in this Div 09, so this is from the detail components, Div 09 finishes, I've only got one. So there's only one file in all of these keyword categories. So, you know, they might be keyword or tags, if you like, that I look at perhaps getting rid of or merging those into something else. So just having that count there is great analytics on that as well. Sometimes, you know, what we see is when you're doing folders, you know, you'll see misspelt folders. So you'll see, you know, perhaps this is probably a really bad example because I'm pretty sure everybody spells doors correctly, but well, you know, there might be a folder called doors that has, you know, 600 items in it, but then there might be a folder called door and that's only got 5 items in it. So so you can sort of pick up on where things are, and you know, really helps you manage all that side of it. Any other questions? All right, well, that's terrific. Thank you, everyone, for your time today. And yeah, you got any questions, please get in contact. If you'd like a personalised presentation as well, once again, please get in contact with us, and we'd be more than happy to show you that. And you know, obviously, we're keen to help people get set up and running with it as well. So once again, thanks for your time, and goodbye.